An agreement on a 4-year, $188 million contract. Micah Parsons is going to receive $62 million in the first new year of the deal, $120 million fully guaranteed, a total of $136 million guaranteed. He's the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL and NFL history. And what do the Cowboys get in return? 2 first-round picks and DT, defensive tackle, Kenny Clark. Good morning, everyone. As you can see, as our resident Green Bay Packers fan, I'm wearing a cheesehead. I couldn't be happier. This is an amazing move for the Green Bay Packers. And guys, I don't know what the heck Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys are thinking. Myron, why don't we start with you? What's your reaction to the Micah Parsons move yesterday?
I mean, I couldn't believe it like everybody else. You know, I grew up in Wisconsin, diehard Packers fans, family full of them, and they're all talking reckless right now. My brothers are calling me. They're saying Super Bowl. They're saying Philly who. So people are excited. They haven't been this excited in a long, long time, but one of the more surprising trades ever in sports history in my time.
I mean, I'm stunned. I was stunned when it happened. I'm still stunned this morning. I just need to know, Michelle, you're in Bristol today. You're in Vegas East. You're not at your normal New York studio. Did you bring the cheesehead with you? Since we were talking about this all morning yesterday, there was some premonition that I feel like we all had. Yep. No one talking to Dan Graziano saying, he told us that sources were being a little cagey with him. Looks like there might be something that was going to happen. And we've been talking about the Green Bay Packers because of Brian Gutekunst's comments, because Micah Parsons left DFW. He was spotted at the airport. Shout out to whoever took that photo of him at TSA. I believe that's a felony.
That was good.
Or maybe a misdemeanor. You're not supposed to have cameras out at security, people, but someone alerted us that he's getting on a plane. We're like, where is he going? Is he going to get that second opinion on his back? I'm sure his back feels great this morning. And then he ends up in Green Bay. Like, did you bring the cheesehead from home because you knew this was going to happen, or you were willing this into existence?
That is a great question, Courtney, because you're right. Yesterday, after we spoke to Dan Graziano right here on Unsportsmanlike, and go back and listen to the podcast if you missed any of that conversation. It was a great one. You can get it wherever your podcasts are found. But Dan said to us that a resolution could be coming, and it could be coming quickly. Now, we didn't know which lane that resolution would go down. Does that mean that Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones are putting their beef aside and they're going to come to the table and they're going to make a deal? Or did that mean, as Dan was alluding to, the resolution could be elsewhere? We had heard the stuff about Green Bay. It's been percolating for about a week. But we knew that we might be on the precipice of something happening. We didn't know exactly what. But to answer your question, no, I did not bring this cheesehead with me.
Okay.
Yes, I have one at my desk in New York City. Yes, I have Packers gear in New York ready to go at any time. This just so happens to be in Bristol. Like, this is the thing about being a Packers fan. You just have fellow Packers fans wherever you go. And I just was lucky enough that there was a cheesehead here in the studio. I tell you, man, this is heavy, though. I need to do some neck exercises. I gotta get a stronger neck if I'm going to be a Packers fan.
Well, how pumped are you that you get to go to a game this year? And the defense, the complexion of that defense is going to look a lot different. And I know that we were all wondering what the price was going to be. I honestly thought, if we're talking about a player for a player, because Schefter puts out that tweet before the compensation's known, he said it'll be 2 first-round picks and a high-end, high-caliber, whatever the phrasing was, player. I'm thinking Rashawn Gary's out of here, right? Like, you're going to trade a defensive end for a defensive end. And it's Kenny Clark now. No disrespect, he had like a sack last year, needs an interior guy. But you've got Rashawn Gary on one side, Michelle, Micah Parsons on the other. Like, is there a better pass rush in football? I can't think of one off the top of my head right now.
No, this Packers defense is going to be formidable. This team in general certainly took an exponential step forward as far as our expectations for them are concerned. Myron, you said your family is talking crazy because a lot of them are in Wisconsin. The first thing that I thought of was, okay, no more excuses. Jordan Love, I need you to be consistent. I need you to stay healthy. I need you to stop with those turnovers because you have no excuses now. The Green Bay Packers, in my opinion, are right there with the Philadelphia Eagles as far as the NFC when we're talking Super Bowl contenders, and they better get this done. You add Micah Parsons to this defense that's already a formidable unit, you take a step forward. The expectations are raised for your organization. And guys, there's so many tentacles to get into with this story. We can talk about how we arrived at this point with Jerry Jones and the way he goes about these contract negotiations and how a star player finally said enough is enough and he pushed somebody to the brink and now they're out of there. We need to talk, of course, about the Packers and the expectations for them, the ripple effects across the NFC North and the NFC as a whole. But gosh, on the Dallas Cowboys side of this, there is so much for us to break down. What this means for the organization, what this means for Dak Prescott, what this means for Brian Schottenheimer, a first-time head coach who's trying to get a team together to go out there and compete. Not great, but Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, after the deal was made yesterday, had a press conference. And a lot of Cowboys fans were saying, Jerry, what the hell? What are we doing here? Take me through this. Why would you make this move? Why would you trade Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers? And this is the explanation that Jerry Jones gave.
The facts are we need to stop the run. And we haven't been able to stop the run at key times for several years. And when you have the kind of extraordinary pass rush that Michael had, then the way to mitigate that pass rush is to run at you. If the pass rush doesn't get you ahead pretty big time and you're playing even or behind, then you've really got a problem in stopping the run. What?
What indeed? First of all, calling him Michael, I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing? The disrespect continues. I'm sure Micah is glad to have that in his rear view. But Myron, you hear Jerry Jones give the explanation that he's moving on from Micah Parsons because he needs to stop the run, and your reaction is what?
He doesn't believe any of that, right? At the end of the day, Micah Parsons is a generational talent. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, fine, let's say you get to a point where you say, we have to divorce, it's over. You definitely can't trade him in the NFC, and you certainly can't trade him to a team that's a contender in the NFC, a team that just beat you in the playoffs a couple of years ago. So none of the reasoning or rationale makes sense. And I have to believe that there were people in that office, in that front office, saying, Jerry, don't do it. And he just said, I'm Jerry Jones, I'll do what I want. None of this makes sense at all to me.
It's funny because I bet Jerry, when they were setting up this press conference and they're preparing him for different talking points, he's like, find me a stat I can use to prove that we are a better defense without Micah Parsons. Oh, wait, here's the vulnerability. You guys were 31st against the run a couple of years ago. Last year, they were 29th. They were 16th the year before that. It's like, all right, here's the one weakness. Point at this. What are we doing? You calling him like Yannick Ngakoue for lack of a better phrase here? Like, this guy isn't just a pass rush specialist. No disrespect to Yannick Ngakoue, but when you think about one-dimensional defensive linemen, guys who have one element of their game that they're known for, that they specialize in, and then they're a liability elsewhere. In Jerry's case here, he's saying against the run. That's so disingenuous. This guy is a Defensive Player of the Year finalist just about every single year. He wasn't last year because he was hurt for a couple of games. But to act like he's a one-dimensional player, sorry, 2 first-round picks and trading a player back in return doesn't exactly back that claim. So I get he's got to find some sticking point here, but to talk about it in such simple terms, saying, oh, we have to get better against the run, that is, it's so disingenuous. But I know he's grasping at straws here, knowing that he just traded his best defensive player of recent franchise history to a rival, guys. Like, Michelle, we talked about this yesterday. I understand Micah Parsons was playing for the Dallas Cowboys in the 2023 season when Green Bay went to Dallas as a 7 seed and hung 48 on them in that playoff game, one of the most heartbreaking losses Jerry's ever talked about. But they've become a rival of the Dallas Cowboys since the 90s. Why didn't you send him to the AFC of all places?
Right.
You sent him to a team that, when you become a contender once again with all these draft picks, you're going to be facing the Green Bay Packers now for the next decade of trying to overcome the losses that you've had against this team, and you're going to be facing the player that you sent out the building. How does that make a shred of sense, not sending him to, I don't know, the Miami Dolphins or somewhere else?
Right. It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. And honestly, if I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, I can't even tell you how I feel right now. I probably feel angry. I probably feel despondent. I probably feel disrespected. For Jerry and Stephen Jones to sit up yesterday, and that's the reasoning that they're giving their fan base as to why they moved on from one of the most dominant, productive, and certainly most versatile defensive players in the NFL, who's entering his prime, guys. This is a player who just turned 26 years old. He is just entering his prime. He's the second player in NFL history to rack up 12 or more sacks in each of his first 4 seasons, and that's while dealing with injuries. You know exactly how good Micah Parsons is. You know exactly what he brings to your football team. And because of your ego and because of these contract negotiations that you couldn't get a grip on, now he's out the door. And to your point, Courtney, he's in the NFC. He's going to a team that came into our house 2 years ago with the youngest team in the NFL and embarrassed us. And your reasoning behind it is that you want to stop the run? If I'm a Cowboys fan, I don't even know how to begin to process this, Myron.
Well, yeah, and listen,